Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you made your first million?
Who wants to know?
I started one of the biggest business media channels in the entire world, where I go all over the world interviewing the most successful business owners for the younger generation. Wanted to know if I could ask you a couple questions for 1 minute real quick.
I like to remain kind of quiet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What line of business were you in?
Look, fellas, I don't know who you are and I don't know where this is going to go.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Real quick,
excited to...
I just want to show you real quick, just that way you can kind of get an idea. This is my channel right here. So you see I do stuff. Who am I here with today? So we go all over the world and just asking people some questions on how they made it for the younger generation. We've got 5.4 million followers on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So just asking people a couple career advice. So it's a very legit platform. We've done stuff with like the owner of the Houston Texans, the CEO of Nike, the CEO of 7-Eleven.
What's your name?
James Dumoulin.
James Dumoulin.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So how old were you when you made your first million?
I don't know. I was reasonably young, I guess.
Yeah. What line of business were you in?
I worked for a company my entire career, business service company, and I think there's a lot to be said for working in one place as long as it's a good company. It doesn't matter what they do. It's got to have an opportunity and it's got to have a culture that's going to allow people to succeed, and that's what we did.
What was the highest role that you held in that company?
I was the CEO.
Of what company?
I don't want to tell you guys.
What's the name of it?
It's a good company. It's a public company.
It's a public company?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like what I guess area is it?
It's business services.
Do you think a lot of people know the company?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna, if it's public, it's public knowledge, right? Like, could you say what company it is?
You'll have to.
We've done a lot of public CEOs.
You'll have to look this up.
Let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Leadership is the downfall of a lot of companies in today's world. And you ran, how many employees did you have at one time?
42,000.
42,000? What's the most amount of money you made in a single year?
The company did multi-billions of dollars in revenue a year, so we did well, generating high single-digit revenue growth for 50 years.
Are you a billionaire?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know.
Are you still the CEO of the company?
No, I'm not. I'm not. No.
So why did you retire?
I was there for 18 years as CEO, and there's a point in time where you realize you're not running at the same pace that you were in your younger days, and it's time to turn it over to somebody else.
Right. Let me ask you this. I'm going to go back to, real quick. You were the number one out of 42,000. You had 42,000 employees. What was the biggest driving factor of your success that enabled you to work your way up and become a CEO of a multi-billion dollar company?
Advice to who? Who am I giving the advice to?
Somebody starting out at a corporation right now,
okay,
and they want to work their way up and become a CEO. Because most people, they can't even imagine that. Like that seems so unreasonable to people, but you put it in reality.
Every day, I went to my boss at the end of the day and I said, I'm done with what I had to do today. Is there anything else you want me to do? Sometimes they'd say no. Occasionally they'd say yes. I need this. Can you help me with this? But my boss eventually thought that I was their right-hand person, because every single day I'm coming to them and asking them, is there anything else I can do? And when your boss thinks you're their right-hand person, when their boss comes to them and say, we need somebody to do something else, do you have anybody? The people that are volunteering to do all that extra work are the ones that get the chance to do it. Now, every time you get that extra chance, now you got to perform. You got to do a really good job. But my advice is be your boss's right-hand person. Be there. Be there all the time. Go to them every day. What else can I do? Anything for you? Sometimes they give you stuff to do, but what they're giving you to do were things that they had to do. So you're learning some of your boss's job by doing that sort of thing. So that would be my advice. You got to work your butt off.
How did you deal with all that pressure? Because you got to worry about shareholders, you got to worry about employees, you got to worry about customers, you got to worry about prospective clients. How did you manage to stay calm when you have immense pressure like that? Because again, to have 40,000 people working under you, you've got people that are investing in your company, you got to perform. How did you manage that, man? That's incredible. I know it wasn't easy.
No, it's not. It's not. I guess the best way to say it is, as you move up the organization, you kind of get used to different levels of pressure. I tell my kids that life doesn't quit throwing hard problems at you. You just get more used to dealing with them. And as you get more used to dealing with them, you don't overreact as much as you did when you were younger. So, it's like the frog in the kettle and you turn the temperature up. They don't realize it's going up. It's just going up. That's what happens in business with the kind of pressure that you take on as you move up into more and more responsible positions in the company.
Who's the number one person that had the biggest impact on your career in terms of like a success standpoint? Who did you learn the most from?
My father and my predecessor as CEO before I took over the role were probably my biggest influences in business. My dad was a businessman as well, and I learned an awful lot from him when I was young. And then when I took the role of president of our company and I worked directly for my predecessor, I learned so much from him.
What was the lowest point in your career?
Don't make me go there.
Let him know, though. No,
I got to run, all right?
Give me that last one, because I think that adversity helps people to get them to understand.
I mean, anybody who spends a career in business has more problems that you deal with than you do upsides.
What was your name, sir?
I'm Scott.
Scott, last name?
I'm Scott.
Scott, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Sir, How old were you when you made your first million?
42.
And what line of business were you in?
Industrial equipment, sales, service, rental, generators, that type of thing.
Did you own a company?
I've owned a couple, Canada and in here.
What business made you the most money?
The business I'm running right now.
What is it?
Well, it's a business that sells generators across the U.S. and heavy equipment.
What's the most amount of money that you've made in a single year?
$500 million.
$500 million. What happened that year you did 500 mil? That's incredible.
Oh, it was just order intake.
How did you scale from 8 to multiple 9 figures to do $500 million in a single year?
It was just a couple of key customers that locked in on some very strong orders for us. And AI is driving a lot of my business in the data center business. Like I supply generators to data centers all over the world.
So you like AI?
AI is huge. It's like the industrial revolution right now.
How can somebody leverage AI in their business right now? Because a lot of people hear artificial intelligence.
Well, that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. Leveraging AI from an intelligence standpoint in my business operation, that's the difference. But what's fueling my business is the surge that AI has on data centers. Did you do an AI search versus a Google search? It's 10x. So that just drives added demand for standby power for data centers and just base load energy as well.
How did you get into this business? It's a very niche and very specific business. Everybody thinks that.
No, I'm very diversified. I'm in oil and gas. I'm in commercial vehicles and things of that nature. I do a lot of different things. So I got a lot of geographical diversity and I've got a lot of sector diversity. I got a lot of guys that like to do the right thing for our customers.
Right. Did you come from a rich family?
No.
You didn't?
I was a mechanic.
Were your parents wealthy?
No.
So what was your
I didn't even go to university.
You didn't go to college, but you started a $500 million a year business.
Well, no, my business is $1 billion.
You've been at the table with some hitters. What's the biggest deal you ever closed?
Probably about a $250 million deal with one customer with one order.
Talk to me about your negotiation strategy there. To go and close a $250 million deal, what was your mindset going into that deal? How did you close that
Well,
deal?
first of all, developing a relationship with that client, making sure that he has a sense of trust. He's going to be spending a lot of money and making a big commitment to your company. So a big part of that is making sure that that customer is reassured at every step that when he makes that, because everyone's got choices.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do business with me or my company. So I got to make sure that his decision to do business with me is a sound one and he's reinforced that in that confidence day in and day out. And staying connected with these guys.
But whenever you
no
have
surprises.
Whenever you have a prospective client that's on the fence, they're leaning towards a no. What's kind of your strategy to get them back over to a yes? Give me a negotiation or a sales tactic that's helped you a lot.
I would say it's largely just the relationship building exercise. Whether you take a guy out on a golf course, take him for dinner, take him on a boat for a weekend. There's a lot of ways of developing that trust. A lot of guys use golf courses for doing that. A lot of guys use going fishing or taking them on a holiday. I blend it depending on what the nature of the customer is. Oil and gas guys, they like to go shooting hogs from a helicopter. I mean, every different strokes for different guys.
You study your clients, is what you're saying.
Yeah, got to know your demographic. Got to know who you're dealing with. Are you dealing with bankers? You're dealing with guys in major markets like Chicago, Washington, New York. Are you dealing with guys in the oil field down in Midland, Odessa? Two different kinds of clientele, and you got to deal with them appropriately. If I was to wear a suit going in to meet with a guy down in oil and gas down in Midland, Odessa, in the Permian Basin, I wouldn't get a deal done. I dress down for those kinds of environments.
That's fascinating.
But they spend great money.
Nobody talks about that, though.
If I'm dealing with a guy in Chicago or New York or Washington, it's a whole different wardrobe. It's a whole different approach. And it's a different environment where I put myself in with that guy to make him feel comfortable.
What was your superpower as a business owner? What did you do better than anybody else?
Communication.
But when you say communication, where do most people struggle? Or what's a communication advice?
Transparency. I'd say being available. Like my office door, it's glass, and it's glass for a purpose.
What does that mean?
People can see what's going on. When I have my closed door meeting, it's glass. People don't think there's a big conspiracy going on where I'm changing the board or I'm changing key employees. It just makes them feel more comfortable. Yeah. When you go behind a big oak door into a big office in a boardroom, people don't know what's going on. So I want my employees to know that I'm working in their interest as well as my own interest and just having that transparency. So if there's some change in the company, whether it be a financing change or a strategy or an embarkment on a new growth segment, they are the first to know. They are going to always be the first to know. They're going to hear from me, whether it be through a town hall, I do a fly-in, whatever it may be.
What's your name?
Yeah, John.
John. Great to meet you, sir. I appreciate you.
놓치면 손해보는 자수성가 포인트 3가지 1. 대기업 CEO가 된 비결은 매일 퇴근 후 상사에게 가서 일을 더 달라고 한 것이다. 두 번째, 고객을 오래도록 유지하는 비밀은 그들과 진짜 친구가 되는 것이다. 세 번째, 틈새 시장을 찾고 AI를 반드시 이용하라.